It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendo. Thanks a lot for joining us. The start of another week. The past week was quite eventful, especially on the economic front. We did hear lots of policy announcements, /reversal, labor and other stakeholders in the sector speaking up, especially with regards to new charges that the central bank has introduced, or at least plans to introduce for Nigerians, coming at a time when so many other charges and taxes and are just burdening Nigerians at this time, coupled with all the subsidy removals that have been happening. So it's been quite a week of mounting economic pressure for Nigerians. And we're going to be starting off the show today trying to understand how Nigerians can, if possible, navigate this and plan economically for the long year ahead and probably years to come, because the government has told us clearly that this is a very long battle and we have to tighten our belts. Don't know how much tighter it can get, but we'll see how we can go around that. I'm joined here in the studio by Progress Felix. Thanks a lot for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me today, Ebuka. Thank
yes.
you so much.
So, like I said, there's a lot happening in the economy. We did hear from the central bank in the past week about charges being introduced for cybersecurity. Nigerians are wondering, when does this end? We had the fuel subsidy removal. We've had electricity skyrocket for a lot of people. Yeah. Food inflation has not tried to come down at any point. The Naira looked like it was starting to go back down. Now we're seeing a reversal of all of that. So there doesn't seem to be any respite anywhere. Is the government right in saying that these things are necessary? Or is there a counter-argument which some have offered to say that this can be done with palliatives on the side? And how do these palliatives even work when every single Nigerian is affected?
Okay, thank you very much for the question.
Yeah.
So the big elephant in the room is, why now? The policy as regards the cybersecurity levy was not brought about by the current administration. The levy was a policy from the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's administration, and the big question is, why now? Like you did mention, we've seen a lot of pressure on the Nigerian citizens in terms of various levies coming in from the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the question still remains that in a country where inflation still remains elevated, you still have the Central Bank grappling with foreign exchange depreciation. You still have high cost of production for those in the manufacturing sector. You have high cost of transportation that has been exacerbated on the back of increasing energy prices and also increase the removal of fuel subsidy. The question becomes, why now? And that's the big elephant in the room. And if you would ask me, I think perhaps it might be a good policy in the far future, but currently I don't think it's the best of approach, because considering the current economic climate in the country, I don't think the Nigerian people they have that level of cushion. I don't think they have that level of cushion to take on this levy, because looking at the structure of that policy, for a product or service that is worth ₦1 million, you get to pay ₦1,050,000, which means that you are indirectly supporting inflation, and the prices of these goods or services continue to rise, and then it becomes counterproductive to the initial direction of the CBN in terms of battling inflation. So the bigger question becomes, why now? And left to me, I don't think now is the best time. And I think the House of Assembly, in cooperation with the presidency, had given that direction to reverse that policy for the now.
So the playing devil's advocates here a bit now. The why now is a very valid question, because like I said at the start, there's a lot happening. But there's also the argument that when is the right time? You know, we did talk about fuel subsidy removal in 2011, 2012. We knew how that ended with all the protests nationwide. Somebody even said that the current government was very instrumental to making sure that didn't happen at the time when, quote unquote, there was oil money. Correct. Much more than we do have now. That could have been a good time, but people felt that it wasn't even a good time at the time. You did mention that this policy as well was introduced by that same government at a time when there was some oil money, at least. If that wasn't a good time and this isn't a good time, is there ever going to be a good time? I guess is the question I'm trying to ask. Is this something that we can ever do without having to do this sort of hard reset that's going on now?
Okay. For me, I see the implementation of this policy not as a one-off. I see it, in terms of implementation, I feel the government can take a staggered approach to it, not just to weigh in on the citizens at once. They could probably have a staggered approach to it. Say, have a minimum threshold for which that levy will be charged. Let's say you place a threshold of, say, 1 million. All transfers done electronically over 1 million will attract this levy. And once people settle in on that, then you expand the basket. But the question then becomes, for a transfer of 1,000 naira, why do I have to pay a cybersecurity levy for it? So I feel you may be right saying there have been a lot of conversations around when would be the best time. But I think in the implementation of this, I think the government can take a staggered approach to it so that the citizens do not just feel the direct weight of these levies on them.
Yeah, I think it's something that the central bank governor has consistently said, because people have said at least he seems active. He's trying out things. Most of them are not working. Some are working. Correct. We're seeing how things are evolving. But there's also the argument that, you know, the fiscal side of things might not be doing as much as the Ministry of Finance, you know, the government, to support what the CBN is doing. Is that what you're seeing, right? Because the CBN can only make these policies and hope that the fiscal side of things, you know, matches it, which is why even when we saw the Naira falling, some called it artificial. Inflation didn't go anywhere. It still was where it was. And people have wondered, what should the government be doing with the CBN, you know, for these things to be cushioned? We all know it's not going to be an overnight fix. Correct. But what are we not doing right yet?
Okay, you had that spot on. There seems to be not a disconnect, but a lag. Like you did mention, a lot has been happening on the monetary side, but there seems to be a lag in transmission on the fiscal side. However, a plus that has happened for this administration is that we have seen some level of correlation between the fiscal side and the monetary side, such that the monetary side is not going in direction X and the fiscal side is going in direction Y. Although they are both headed in the same direction, we've not seen as much aggressiveness on both sides. And like you mentioned, what exactly should the fiscal side be doing? The central bank has done its best from the monetary perspective in terms of its monetary tightening policies, through managing liquidity, OMO auctions. I believe on the fiscal side, we need more structural intervention from the government in terms of looking at inflation. If you look at the basket of inflation, food inflation consists about 50% of that basket. And what is driving food inflation? You have high cost of production, you have high cost of transportation, and you have electricity cost. And if the government can have direct structural intervention to these sectors, you would see that most of these hike in prices that we see on the food inflation front would largely be reduced. And to also add, the government needs to support local production. And in supporting local production, it still boils down to encouraging local producers, improving the cost of production for these guys so that they make sufficient enough margin that makes those in the market become willing to patronize locally made products. Yeah,
very valid points. I think we're joined virtually by Jonathan Ikeolumba, I believe. Jonathan, can you hear me if you're there? Okay, we'll get back to Jonathan. I don't think he's there. But I think what I want to ask now, because a lot of you financial people always tell us, no matter what the economic situation is, you have to have the discipline to save, right? Being able to save in hard times makes you a better financial manager or whatever it is. And at a time like this, people are wondering, how is that supposed to happen? I, for one, for example, have spent the last couple of weeks, all I've been doing is paying bills. I happen to be one of the band A people. And my life is, I can't even explain how crazy my electric bills have become. There's that. It doesn't mean you're still not buying fuel or diesel for your generators regularly. Right. You have all these charges that just appear out of nowhere. We know what the fuel situation is now, how much it is. Yes, the queues are away, but the price is still where it is. The Naira or inflation is still happening. So there's just so much. Is it possible for a Nigerian today? I mean, we're starting to hear, thankfully, some conversations around, the minimum wage, going up and all of that. But how possible is it at a time like this to be financially or fiscally responsible? Is that possible, you think?
Yes, very possible. Just also add that the current situation in Nigeria is not novel and is not particular to the Nigerian government. So let's put it this way, basic economics, resources would always be scarce. There won't arrive a time where you would have sufficient enough resources because
for everybody.
Because the needs are unlimited. Resources is what is scarce. So having this at the back of your mind that whether the government becomes good, bad, whatever direction it goes, resources will always be scarce. So as an individual, you need to be very prudent with your finances. In terms of saving to what end? I think that's a conversation that most people do not like to have. There's always that frontliner conversation of just save, just save, just save. But the question is, saving to what end? To what purpose? If you are saving for an investment that would provide you a real return on the initial amount saved, then maybe you're looking at growing your wealth. But if all you are doing is saving, there's the side of inflation that would eventually erode your savings. Where we see things like somebody says, I'm trying to save for a car, the car is 2 million, and when I eventually save the 2 million, the car now is 5 million. So you need to save with an intention, and when you're saving for a car that is 2 million today, you need to factor in possible inflation. What would this car be worth in 2 years' time when I eventually save that money? That should be what you should be saving towards. And the country is quite tight at the moment, to be rather upfront, but the financial discipline to stay prudent with your resources is required in whatever economic situation we find ourselves, whether in a prosperous one or in ones where we are trying to navigate the waters. I believe staying financially prudent is still a way forward.
Yeah. What are some of the things Nigerians can do at a time like this? Because I know, yes, everybody's complaining. Every single person is complaining, no matter what class of society you're in right now. But it would be nice to start hearing, okay, is there anything we can start doing at a time like this? For those who might have whatever it is, to say, okay, maybe this is a good time to invest somewhere or to put money away somewhere. We did see with COVID, for example, while the world was in crisis, a lot of people made money then.
Sure.
It was a time of boom for a lot of people, especially those in tech and all of that. What are some things or sectors Nigerians can start looking at? I hear agriculture a lot. You talked about production and manufacturing as a good place as well. Is this a good time to start thinking about things in those ends? And is it really viable? And how long-term is it? Because Nigerians don't really like long-term things, especially at a time when you want to start seeing returns on your funds. Yeah,
so currently in a bid to further tightening the economy, the CBN has consistently increased interest rates. And you see the treasury bills trading around 25% yields for the 1 year paper. And for those that want quick return, you could push in your investable sums into the treasury bills. In terms of what specific innovations or businesses people can delve into, my opinion would be that currently you need to be able to envisage what the future of that sector is and plug into that direction. So for instance, you know that in tech, the next level would evolve around things like AI, robotics. And the next question should be not just looking at what it is now, you need to be able to envisage what will be the future of that particular sector. Speaking about agriculture, not just subsistence farming, you need to be able to look at what is the next level for industrialization in agriculture and how can I plug into it. It becomes an issue if, as an individual, all you can envisage is what is currently happening in the industry or the sector, and you're trying to solve that problem. Meanwhile, the next 5-6 years, the problem you're trying to solve has evolved past your solution, and then it becomes an issue. So specific sectors, I'd mentioned tech. You could look into things like AI, robotics. I've mentioned agriculture as well. There's a lot of need for food in the country. I've mentioned manufacturing. Manufacturing is capital intensive, and which means that it's going to be an area where the government will have its eyes on things around construction as well, because those areas drive growth in the country. So there are various other sectors that an individual can look into. Perhaps maybe personal findings and personal studies can help you drill down into what specific niche you'd want to go into for yourself.
Looking at the trajectory of, where the economy is now, with what has happened with the Naira, with what is happening with inflation, with all those policies that we've seen from government, how do you see the rest of 2024 shaping up? More of the same? Worse?
Mixed. Mixed. Yeah, so I say mixed because we've seen some headwinds. Some headwinds from inflation. I think the inflation prints for February showed some slight decline month on month, although year on year inflation was still elevated, although that number was slightly dialed back in March. But going into the later part of the year, we might see inflation, see a slight reversal in inflation on the back of what's it called again? On the back of previous numbers for the last year. So baseline figures. So those may actually impact inflation figures that would have later in the year. Inflation is actually projected to close the year in and around 28%, thereabout. But speaking to the currency direction for the country in terms of the value of the Naira, going into the rest of the year, I think the world should be cautious. All investors need to be cautious in their approach going into the rest of the year. A lot can happen, and a lot would eventually happen. So the word for investors on the foreign exchange side should be slightly cautious. General outlook for the economy, for me, would be slightly optimistic, maybe mixed. Yeah.
Well, thanks for giving us just a bit of a glimmer of hope there. Slightly optimistic, and Nigerians will take that at a time like this. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Progress, and we'll keep our fingers crossed and hoping that things start to, look up again. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now, last night was the biggest night in African film and television. The African Magic Viewers' Choice Awards held in Lagos, and the entire continent was held spellbound. Some great winners, movies were celebrated, actors were celebrated, but it has also become one of the biggest nights in fashion on the continent, and Nigerians, love their fashion, and the AMVCA is at the pinnacle of that, and Nigerians came out in all sorts. And I say that very mildly, but I have someone here who understands fashion and all of that better than I do. Akim Faminu, thanks a lot for being here today. Do I call you Dr. Akim Faminu?
Yeah, you can. It's all right.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Thanks for being here today. You looked amazing yesterday. And you've been here before, we've talked about this, and I want to start with that again. I know it's not a very popular opinion, but I miss the days when the AMVCAs were a proper black tie event. And I feel like we're at a point now where it's sort of a costume party. Most people don't like to hear that. And people say, well, is there a theme? There's no theme, so why can't I wear what I wear? Which is why I said, you looked great yesterday. You wore a tuxedo, which is what I always want to see at an event like that. But that's my opinion. I don't know how you felt about last night, generally.
So I think, first of all, I want to congratulate all the winners. Yesterday, I mean, it was a night to celebrate film and fashion, but film first of all. So a huge congratulations to all the nominees and all the winners. Now to the fashion. So the AMVCAs, I like to liken it in terms of fashion to the Oscars, because it's a movie award night. But the clause there is that we don't have a replica of something like the Met Gala, which you can, say is sort of a costume party, because the Met Gala is totally different. It talks about arts, fashion as an art, not necessarily an award show. So these days, I feel like Nigerians just try to express their creativity through the biggest night of fashion, which is the AMVCA. So I share your sentiments. I'm also going to be a tuxedo guy for my first look. I mean, I can do whatever for the other looks, but for the first look, it's an award night. So I mean, I expect to still see black tie dress code on the red carpet.
I mean, most people don't agree with me. I've been to virtually every AMVCA, maybe about 2 or 3, and I've always worn a tuxedo with a black tie. I mean, I even thought I was too edgy yesterday. That's by the way. But what sort of trends did you notice yesterday? I don't know if I saw a pattern or anything. Did you see a trend yesterday?
Oh yeah, I did see a pattern actually. So the pattern, I would split it into menswear and women's wear. So the pattern I saw for menswear still in black tie was, you know, flared pants, arts. You know, there was still an expression of art,
yes,
but blended into black tie. So you had tuxedos that had paintings, you had the flared pants and stuff like that. So yeah, that was for the men. For the women, I saw a lot of structure. There's a lot of structural outfits. Some look like a costume. Others look like a black tie, but there was a lot of structure, and that was very, very nice to see.
Yeah, I saw a lot of proportions and all of that, and it was very fascinating,
very interesting
to look at. Now with the men with the flare pants, I mean, it's going with sort of with the times now.
Oh yeah,
internationally,
absolutely.
you're also seeing that as well.
Yeah.
People have argued that it's a trend that's dying, but it's still around, and it looked great yesterday. Do you think it's still strong enough to last?
I mean, fashion revolves. You know, trends come, trends go. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's definitely strong enough to last because it's very comfortable. Yeah. Compared to tightly fitted pants.
To sock belly too much.
It's actually very comfortable, and it looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks really good. So yeah, definitely so.
We are used to seeing a lot of sequins and bling with the women. Did we see a lot of that yesterday?
You know, in this part of the world, we love to be extra. So our fashion is very extra. It's very expressive, and I think on red carpet nights, even during the time that the AMVCA was still like a black tie, you still tend to see a lot of blings. So yeah, there were lots of stones, a lot of crystals. I mean, done properly, it can look super amazing.
Yeah, you know, I've always believed that the traditional attire for Nigerian men works as a black tie. Outfits for us because it's our culture and all of that. As long as you wear a hat is what I always say. But I don't know that we saw a lot of that yesterday. And typically with the AMVCAs, you kind of see a number of people in traditional attire. I think Odunlade, I think I saw in Anagbada. I saw 1 or 2 or 3 people generally, but it wasn't very RMD, of course, looked very regal, but it wasn't very popular. Do you think the cultural night, which happens the day before, is taking away from it?
Yeah. So I mean, for me, I would always substitute our culture for costume. So either you do black tie, you do something Afrocentric, or you do something cultural for the AMVCA night. And then, but the fact that there is a cultural night before that is, I think, what maybe took that away. So most people already did their cultural looks for the cultural night as opposed to the actual day. But RMD's outfit was amazing. I think it was by the Jankola. It was very regal. Loved it.
Speaking of, you mentioned the designer's name, and I want to talk about the designers and who stood out. And it looked like it was Vicky James' night, first of all. Let me start with that. Every lady who I saw sort of trending or going viral, I saw her, I was like, okay, she had a great night. Did anybody else stand out for you?
So, again, Vicky James did stand out for me because if I'm picking my best dressed ladies, I think about 2 of them were Vicky James. So yeah. And for the men, Atafo, as usual, as always. The Jankola also stood out. So and then Wisdom Franklin. Franklin did stand out, because I know he made a particular outfit for Chioma Ikoku that I thought was very beautiful. It was in between Met Gala and Oscars. I loved it. It was amazing.
Let's start with people who didn't, stand out for you, or people who you thought missed the mark.
Okay. So there's this particular outfit I saw. When you see the outfit, it looks good. I mean, it was a crochet 3-piece. I think it was worn by Mr. Tayo Faniro, I think.
Okay.
He's an actor, So I looked at it and it looked really good. However, for a red carpet night, on a award night, not so much. So it was a thing of missed the mark in terms of time and place. But the outfit itself was really nice. I think it's more of a style, really casual, laid back, but not on the carpet.
Yeah. What did you think of Tiana?
So
was that sack? I was trying to understand what the outfit was.
Okay, so my personal opinion about that outfit is that it was given more Megala than Oscars. And it was, Tiana is very edgy.
We respect that from her.
Yes, and I really respect her creativity. I think in terms of female designers, when you're thinking of going overboard with your creativity, Tiana really does stand out. The only issue I have sometimes is the execution. Last night's outfit was very interesting. It was quite interesting. I didn't think it was appropriate for the event, but you cannot deny the creativity. It was quite creative, but I didn't really understand. So maybe if we could get like an idea behind it or something like a BTS thing to let us know, okay, this is what you were going for, better, because designers are creatives.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see finished work and we don't understand the process unless we are, told.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my stand on it.
For about 3 years, I know we had this thing with the AMVCAs where, they had a best dressed podium. You go there, take pictures, the viewers voted, and the best dressed, got the award. It was scrapped this year. Do you think that was a good thing? Do you think it affected? Because people have said that move by the AMVCAs is what has even upped the fashion game even more.
Yeah.
Now that it's gone, do you think it's going to have an effect on the awards as a whole?
Well, I'm sure.
And was it a good thing for it to be dropped?
Yeah, so I'm sure for an award to be scrapped, must have been something. So maybe could it be controversy? But I know that like a lot of people were still expecting the award to happen last year, but it didn't happen. Is it good for the event? As a fashion person, I would say it's not, because I love to see the effort, And then you're very right in terms of the fact that people decided to up their game for that award. But on the other side, on the flip side of it, I don't know. It could be a bit controversial sometimes, because everybody has their favorites, and for things like that, when you, I mean, it's the viewer's choice though. Yeah. So when you pick one person, of course, other people that think their own favorites look better will be like, so maybe because of the controversy. But in my own personal opinion, I think that if they can bring it back, they should, because fashion, definitely.
I mean, we're seeing a few of the looks on our screen, but before we get to that, I want to ask you about someone who people have said has become the queen of the AMVCAs, and every year she drops this bomb and people just go crazy. And she's not even Nigerian.
I know.
She's from Ghana, Nana Akua-Addo.
Yeah.
She's brought all this form and structure and art to the AMVCAs every year, and I feel like everybody was waiting on her page. People just remember her once every year, like, okay, when is she going to drop a picture? And she did that again this year with this white structural. I've been trying to understand with the faces. I'm trying to understand the outfits. I'm like, can she see it? How's this going to work? But what did you think of that?
Well, I mean, I thought it was a creative masterpiece, to be honest. I did actually take my time to look at it properly. So I think what she does is just to try to make a statement every year with art. So that outfit is art. In terms of practicality, I don't know. Sometimes art may not be so practical.
Yeah, that's how on your screen now.
Okay, fantastic. Sometimes art may not be so practical. You have people go for a big award night that they have to take out a train so they can sit or something. But I mean, then again, what is fashion if not art? So I really
love it. Can she sit in this?
Ooh, I wouldn't know.
It's amazing, it's
but
amazing.
It's really good, though. It's really good.
Let's get to people who stood out for you now.
Okay.
Let's start with the men.
Okay.
They say we're usually boring, so let's just get out of the way. Okay. Are there men who stood out for you on the night? Okay, so I mean, I have a bias towards the fact that I think that the AMVCA is traditionally a black tie. So I'm going to start with that. For black tie, for classic tuxedos, I remember seeing a look by, I think, Alex Ekobo. Yeah, it was really sharp. Good. Yeah, it was a sharp look. Very it was one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, it was a sharp look, very nice. And then there's a certain Ebuka Obiochendu. I don't know if you know him. But yeah, solid look, Atafo, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like even the tuxes were interesting this year. Yeah. They were quite edgy. So anyone that understands black tie would know that this is not normal black tie.
Yeah.
It's not normal black tie. It has an edge to it. That's for the black tie part.
Yeah.
So for the more creative ones, I mean, I remember a look by Saga Deolo. There's a pink look. It was quite creative. I mean, not the usual that you see. So that was very nice as well. There was a particular look that had body art. I think it was done by Neo. Yeah, that to me looked more like a Met Gala kind of look. And it looked very familiar. It looked very familiar. I think Vivienne Westwood, 96. Yes. Yeah, so, but execution was actually quite good.
Yeah.
Execution was actually quite good. So for the men, I think those names.
They tried.
Yes, we tried.
And for the women now, I mean, we've seen a few of them. I saw Sasi Godaro on our screens. I've seen Beauty Sukura. I was not dressed yet. I was trying to watch the red carpet go on TV, and I saw Toke Makinwa's picture. And I feel like at that point I was like, yeah, this is going to be a good night.
Yeah, of course.
Because that was the first, you sort of opened up the day, and I just was wowed by what I saw. But I don't know which women made your list.
So big kudos to Nigerian women. Like, they always bring it. And when I say bring it, I mean competing with any other
anywhere
in the world, anywhere, whatever event. I feel like if there was a Nigerian Met Gala, Nigerians are going to absolutely
deliver. I agree.
Yeah. So
that was okay. Looked like a lamp. Yesterday, looked like a stat. It was mind blowing.
The structure was amazing.
So
some of my favorites, Toke, definitely. There was also Sigudaro. Tomike Aduri.
Okay, that was really good.
I love that.
It was like a half jacket, half dress.
And then that was, it fits what I believe is the theme.
Yes.
It was beautiful. And I've mentioned 3 looks, and all of them are Vicky James.
Yes.
So Nana as well, Nana Akorado. I love Beauty's outfit as well. It was very, very good. And then, special ups to the ladies as well, because, they have to do hair. You have to do makeup, you have to do nails, you have to do so many things. So it takes a lot of effort. It really takes
and still get on the red carpet on time.
And still get on the red carpet on time, with trains. I mean, it's not easy. So big ups to them. Those looks were absolutely amazing. It stood out for me.
Yeah. Is there anybody who you saw, who maybe you won't, I don't want to sound like I'm dissing anyone, but someone who you wouldn't have expected to shine as much as they did. And you were like, oh, that's a good one. Is there anybody you saw that, surprises you? Maybe that's a better word.
Surprise. I'm not really sure, but okay, one comes to mind. So there was a delivery of an all-white outfit that Elozonam did. Yeah, it was very different. It looked very different from his normal style. So yeah, that was quite surprising, but surprising in a good way.
Yeah.
Surprising in a good way. So, and then I like the delivery as well. Another interesting about us is that, in this part of the world, in Nigeria, for AMVCAs, everyone likes to create their content ahead of time. So you get the
people are doing shoots on Tuesday.
And I'm
it's a serious thing. So, I've been looking at pictures. The shoots, first of all, shout out to all the photographers.
Yeah, amazing work. Amazing
shout out to Jemima, who was seen on the screen as well. I mean, this is a nice shoot.
Yeah.
In her room or wherever it is. But I'm seeing these things. I'm seeing clouds. I'm seeing birds in the sky. I'm seeing horses.
Now you get
things are really happening.
My point about
it's a whole production
between the Met Gala and
it's a whole production.
Yeah, it's a whole production. It's not easy. Before we even talk about the delivery, there's photography, there's creative direction, there's location scouting. All of these things are not easy.
Yeah.
To put together that for the AMVCA, I mean, I think it's really amazing. We are some of the most creative people in the world.
It is interesting. And because you see people's pictures and the tags are like 15.
I
was just looking at a picture of Ekwe Dewa just now, and there's a slide in her picture that has a picture of her room with a team, and I could count at least about 8 or 9 people just to get someone dressed. It's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, amazing.
Yeah, but all around, how would you rate this year, fashion-wise?
So, I feel like for the past 3 years, there's been an upward trajectory in the fashion. I don't know if that's tailored to the fact that there was now a best dressed, but the fashion has really...
It's quite intense.
Quite intense. And then you also know that people are paying so much attention to it from the kind of pictures you see on the day. So you have people doing shoots a week before.
You do test shoots before the actual shoots.
I don't know about that one. That's very serious. But I'm a creator, so I'm all for creativity.
Yeah.
I'm all for the effort. And then if there's one thing that Nigerians will do, we're definitely going to put in effort into whatever we do. So the fashion this year was a lot better, but also a lot more experimental than usual.
Yeah, than usual.
So I'm not really a fan of the fact that the fashion for the AMVCA is tilting towards that way, because, I mean, we also have Fashion Week. I like to be experimental during Fashion Week, but for things like award nights, movie award nights, it could be like literally a movie academy award night.
Yeah.
It's different from a music award night. So for a movie award night, I think the simpler the better, honestly, in my personal opinion.
I'm preaching that gospel with you. Maybe one day it will resonate with people. But I mean, everybody, shout out to everyone who put in the efforts, photographers, designers. and the entire fashion industry, which of course you are a huge proponent of, and advance that. Thanks a lot for everything. I don't know who that guy is on the screen. Take it away. Take it away. Thanks a lot, Akin Famino, for joining us today, and all the best with everything.
Thank you so much.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the AMVCA's Who Won and Who Lost. I'll see you after. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show it. Welcome back. The African Magic Viewers' Choice Awards held last night here in Lagos. The best of the African movies were celebrated and rewarded or awarded on the night. And we're going to be talking about the award ceremony itself. Were there any surprises? Were there disappointments? Were there shocks? I'm joined here in the studio by Sheila Sisi, who's a film critic and a journalist. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, so a lot of people have said that, the awards last night are one of the best they've seen, organization-wise. Do you agree with that watching on TV? I don't know if you were at the event or if you watched on TV. How did it feel compared to previous years?
I actually watch on TV, and I think I also share in the sentiment of others, because I think I actually wrote a piece that was published today, and I said one of those things that has constantly been echoed is that this year's is actually great compared to last year in terms of the wins.
Yeah.
And I share that sentiment too.
Yeah.
I also share that sentiment too.
What stood out for you on the night through the award ceremony?
For me, basically, it's the wins, because I think compared to other years that it was maybe voting categories, the fact that it's been, some of these awards are being awarded by juries member in terms of like maybe best actors, best actress, best supporting actors. It shows that, okay, we at this point in time, the AMVCA is paying attention to excellence over popularity as it was in previous years.
That's a very, very key word. But let me just quickly go to, we'll have someone joining us virtually. Akintunde Damilare is a founding partner and editor at Shock NG. Akintunde, if you can hear me, I don't know, do you agree with the sentiment shared by a lot of people, that the awards this year were a bit of an uptick from what it used to be in the past?
Yes, Ebuka. Good afternoon to everybody. And of course, congratulations to all the nominees that got awarded last year. So yes, the sentiments were quite positive in terms that we finally see merit and excellence given to the titles that absolutely put their forward best in terms of storytelling, in terms of direction, and cinematography and writing. And you could clearly see that the jury response was quite positive, especially in the hall, because I was in the hall at the hotel yesterday, and when you could clearly see some categories being announced, the hall, stood up and clapped and cheered and like, okay, yes, this was something that we were really, this was someone that we were really rooting to win for this particular category. And of course, Breath of Life, which got everybody excited when they announced Bibi Sasere as director, and of course, lead actress, supporting actress, and I beg your pardon, lead actor and supporting actress in terms of Genevieve. You could clearly see that the hall was really, really happy with the decisions that the jury made, and it wasn't no longer just about who is the most popular actress or who is the most popular actor in that particular category should be given that award to. So yes, the AMVCA has really took a big risk by appointing a jury to take over the idea of voting categories, because of course it's a viewer's choice award, right? But I don't think that viewer's choice applied this year. It's a jury's choice this time around.
Well, according to those who know, they said, they're still voting categories. I think there's about 7 or 8 of them, just not those key ones now, because, like you said, both of you have said, it became a popularity contest for a lot of people. But you mentioned some of the sweep, basically, by Breath of Life, which most people were excited about. But there's also sort of counter arguments from a lot of people. A lot of categories were seen as very, very tough. I think, for example, with Best Supporting Actor, there was a lot of whispers about, will it be Alex Ekubo, will it be Demola Adedoyin? now, you work in this industry. For people who would say Demola was in this movie for 15, 20 minutes, as against an Alex, who was a supporting actor through the movie, why would it tilt to a Demola, for example, for the viewers who might not understand, why Demola won this?
Right. So I think we should first begin starting from the eyes of the jury, right? Whenever a jury is sitting down to watch a particular title for consideration, they clearly pinpoint, okay, I'm going to pick these two particular scenes to really determine if this actor is really worth the mark I'm giving. So, of course, if there's a mark table of 1 to 100, right, the jury will look at those two particular scenes and determine, does this guy really determine if he's going to take this award? And, my conscience will be satisfied that this was based on merit. And I think that's how Demola Adedoyin got it. If you look at the scene where there was a burning wife and child in the car, I don't think we had any powerful emotional scene maybe last year. I don't want to say for the past 5 years, but let's just say since last year. And, in terms of how an actor could be so powerful on the screen and sway everybody's emotion just in under, 10 seconds. And you could clearly feel that a movie has instantly become almost like a revenge sort of like, let's say a revenge arc or a revenge character where everybody's rooting for the Demola's character to really take back his revenge. But of course, you could also see how there were certain tone and motifs and themes that the actor is really interpreting in the particular scene or in the particular movie. And that is what the jury is really looking at, right? They are looking at what's the overall theme or what's the overall genre of this particular title and how well was this actor interpreting this particular genre or this particular tone that that was given by the director. So again, right, to be honest, I don't think everybody was surprised when Demola won that best supporting actor, because just on that scene alone, it takes a huge amount of performer to be able to activate that type of emotions that Demola activated in just maybe less than 1 minute scene. And that takes it for the jury. And of course, they gave him probably full marks and he got the award last night.
Come back to you, Akintoye. Let me share you now. A lot of the categories, like I said, were very tough. It was almost a sweep for Breath of Life, but there were a lot of really good movies that came out last year. People were thinking there will be, like we say in Nigeria, they would have shared the awards to different. The Black Book was a big one. Broke a lot of records, on Netflix. We had Mami Wata, which toured festivals internationally and was getting great rave reviews. A Tribe Called Judah broke all the records in the box office. Blood Vessel did amazingly well. There's a Funmilayo Ransome Kuti movie as well, so what gave Breath of Life this edge, you think? There's people who was wondering, Nigerians, we like God, he's very religious, and there was a bit of that tone to the film, right? Did that sway, or was the movie just really that solid to have beat out all of these other great movies over the past year?
It's kind of tricky because I think personally for me, yes, I share in the sentiment that, okay, these other movies are also great films in their own right, in terms of what they did, the streaming numbers, the box office returns. But I think maybe swaying to what Dami said earlier about the certain criteria used to judge some of these categories that might not be publicly available to the audience. So I believe the juries might have certain particular mark that, okay, Breath of Life ticked this box, it ticked this box, and maybe these other films did not tick the box, and maybe that's why they sway towards Breath of Life. But me personally, I was actually rooting for, especially for Best Movie and Best Directing, I was actually rooting for Sijoba Mami Waters, and even for the cinematography, obviously, because of, aside from even its Sundance win, like virtually all the awards that that it has been submitted to, it's won even at FESPACO. So I actually rooting for Mami Wata, but for Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, which is not publicly available yet, and even for Over the Bridge, that is still not publicly available. It's premiered outside the country. So there's some of these films that are not publicly available that it's going to limit the way maybe the audience or somebody like me can speak to. So I think maybe that's why they tilt towards Breath of Life.
Before the awards, there was a bit of controversy, with the viewers when Chimezie Imo was not nominated for Best Actor. People could not understand it. I mean, there's also what's his name for Kuleremi. Yes, was also not nominated. But yeah, Chimezie Imo stood out for a lot of people. But then on the night, it looks like there was a big save when he won the Trailblazer Award. And that's an award most people have not really understood what it means. What does that Trailblazer mean? What have you done that makes you a Trailblazer? Do you think it was something that he deserved on the night?
I actually think he deserved the award. It's not even I think, because thinking it's like maybe I'm being skeptical about it. But actually, he deserved the award because for me personally, I was introduced to Chimezie Imo through Emma-Idioso's Kasala, which also I think also introduced quite a lot of young actors. The person of even Emeka that was in Far From Home. So it was actually from that movie I got to understand who he is. So I think not nominating Chimezie Imo for Best Supporting Actor or for lead was that it created this uproar. But I think now giving him the Trailblazer was just a way to abate the audience that okay, we'll recognize that. We did not give him, okay, let's give him this. So there might be that too, but it also speaks, it's not just that, it also speaks to the fact that, okay, Chimezie Imo has done quite a number of projects in the year. I think it was in One Too Many recently, and he bodied his role also. So I think it's deserving of the award for me.
Akintunde, let me come back to you now, because one of the most popular wins, I think, on the night was best, I think, digital creator, for which Lai Wasabi won. It's one of the newer categories over the last couple of years, but it's also become one of the most popular, I guess, because, of course, social media is pretty heavy. It was quite competitive there, of course. But he was nominated twice in that category, so it was almost like he had to beat himself to win, like he said on stage. Was it a deserved one, you think? And what did you think about the other nominees in that category?
Awesome. So first off, I really want to comment that we have such a strong internet culture here in Nigeria, where almost everybody wants to become a content creator. If you have a smartphone and a ring light, just come onto the internet and say something interesting. But what makes Lai really stand out is that his type of jokes and the type of commentary that he makes is sort of like based on societal characters. Like you can instantly see that, oh, I know that person in the next house. Oh, I know that person on the street. And, you could see the way a lot of people connect with him just by the way he also chooses his type of, what do they call it? It's like a word slayer, where of course, when he was taking an award, he was saying a multitude of choices. He just won, he just lost. You could clearly see that this is someone that is a brilliant writer and, of course, a brilliant performer who, under 2 minutes, can make you laugh. Because one of the reasons why our comedy skit making is very popular in Nigeria is because Nigeria is a very tough place to operate in. And, of course, one of the joys of you is just open your phone and just go to a comedian place and just get ready to laugh and just, be happy. And that's what Lai has been able to do with his skits, right? He has been able to make millions of Nigerians happy. And when he won that award, which of course I think it was also a voting category, you could clearly see how the way the hall stood up for him and clapped and cheered. And of course, the internet, of course, started making comments and retweets and likes and engagements that, yes, Lai is the guy that makes us laugh and makes Nigeria happy for us, even though the economy is not shining, it's not smiling as much as it should. But I think, yes, Lai is well deserving, and hopefully the next set of digital content will be something interesting to see when AMVCA 2025 comes across. 2024, I beg your pardon.
Question to both of you, but let me start with you, Akintunde, as quickly as you can. I mean, it was a solid year for Nollywood. I looked at the nominees for Best Movie, and it was very familiar on some Kuti. Breath of Life, Over the Bridge, Blood Vessel, The Tribe Called Judah, The Black Book, Mami Water. Those are very solid films. I mean, it looks like Nollywood is on the upward trajectory. Pressure for the coming year. Are you excited for what's to come?
Yes, to be honest, we had a very great 2023. The bar was really set high. You could clearly see that there were 3 Netflix originals, 1 Prime Video original, and then, of course, 2 other titles that was a Sundance winner, and another title that is about to be released here in Nigeria. And these were very strong titles that were helmed by strong writer-directors. And 2024 is something that producers will have to look at, that we have to beat this bar. We can't. The guys in 2023 have set a very high bar for us, and we just have to make it up to it from financial standpoint, from distribution standpoint, and of course from the storytelling standpoint, because that is really important above all.
Yeah. Shay?
For me too, I'm like constantly excited about Nollywood, and I think just like what Dami said, we have the Sundance winner, we have even Breath of Life that was quote unquote might be indie, not mainstream to some extent. I think it's also an indication that we're going to be having a lot of more voices coming, a lot of new stories coming into the industry. So I'm really excited about next year and what other filmmakers will be. Okay, let's start from these people for inspiration and do ahead of them. So I'm excited too.
And excited also for the performances, because now you can't win the award unless you actually deliver and the jury agrees. It's no longer a popularity contest. So everybody has to step up their game. Thank you very much, Sheila Sisi. Thank you very much, Dami, Larry, Akintunde, David, for joining us. And thank you for watching as always. Like I always say, you can follow the conversation on social media. Please use the hashtag Rubbin Minds when you send us a message. I'll see you next Sunday.